Greetings, boils, ghouls, and all other macabre manner of being. It's your old buddy Oxleymations here again, bringing you yet another video in my exclusive little series. For today's video, I thought we would take another dip into the old box of yesteryear and try and dig up a little something that we can all look at and enjoy together. So, without further delay, let's do that very thing, shall we? Ooh, I've got a real treat for you. Today we have a bit of an obscure, spooky-themed Halloween-y toy line to take a look at. I present to you, ladies and gents, the Tales from the Cryptkeeper, the animated series toy line. Now, I'll be completely honest with you right now, I don't have the full set. I'm missing 3 figures, but this set, as you can see here on the back of the card, came with 8 individual figures. You had the Mummy, oh, I turned it the wrong way, but anyways, you had the Mummy, the Zombie, the 2 versions of the Cryptkeeper, a weird version of Frankenstein, Dracula, a werewolf, and a gargoyle. Now, for my particular set, I happen to have the Tuxedo Cryptkeeper, mint on card, although for this particular video, I think we're going to remove Crypty here from his little tomb, since the card and the bubble are already going their separate ways. I don't know how well you can see that, but right here, it's split all the way up to here, and all the way across to here. But regardless, we have Crypty in his tuxedo outfit. We have one of his gargoyle companions. We have Mr. Mummy, along with the little card you could clip out from the back of the box, as evidenced by the back of old Crypty's card. Then we have Odd Frankie, because he has the face only a mother could love, and he looks nothing, I mean nothing, like Boris Karloff. And lastly, we have the vampire. So to clear up a little space, away goes the box of yesteryear. And now we'll do a little cut to where these will be all magically set up on the table and ready for your viewing pleasure. Ready, go! So as you can see, folks, I have the majority of the collection, but as I pointed out, I'm missing 3 of the figures. The Wolfman, the Cryptkeeper wearing his brown robes, and the Zombie. But I will get them in due time. So, each of these figures came with a little bit of an odd action feature. Let's start with the Mummy. Now, on his back, you'll notice that there's this fancy little lever right here. And what you're supposed to do with that is you press down on it, and he does this. His arms go up, and his eyes do this thing where they go from black to red. It's like, okay, I'm up. Where's the coffee? But he has that, and he has articulation, obviously, at the arms, which only go up together. They do not go up by themselves. There is no articulation in the head, for obvious reasons, and he has articulation in the legs, which can be moved individually. Now these guys are more in scale with the Ninja Turtles than those Stretch Armstrong figures I brought up in that other episode. And then we have the Gargoyle, who has this particular kind of weak sauce action feature. He has a little button that pokes out the middle of his back. There we go. And when you press the button, he does this. He flaps his wings and he nods. He's like, yes, yes, wing flap, yes, yes, the only way to fly. And he has articulation, obviously, at the neck, but that only works when you're pushing the lever. That only really works when you're pushing the lever. He has articulation at the shoulders, as well as a bit of a swivel at the hip. But yeah, he has a great face sculpt, I'll say that. And the figure on the whole does look pretty dang good, for not being one of the major players in the toy game like Playmates or Mattel. Next we'll go on ahead and demonstrate one of my favorite action features from this set. Now you may be wondering to yourself, what could this action feature be? What could they have done with this particular toy out of all of them that makes him your favorite? Well, my ladies and gentlemen, friends, and all other configurations of being, he has one of my absolute favorite play features of any toy ever. You can rip this guy apart, limb from limb, and literally rend him to just pieces, and then put him back together again. That's it. That's exactly all there is to him, and that is why I love this kind of play feature. I've had many toys over my glorious and short, so far, life. But of all the toys I've ever had, I have always had a fondness for these ones. The incredible crash test dummies, the Burger King Small Soldiers Nick Nitro toy. Just any toy that you can rip limb from limb and then you can put them back together however you want. Mr. Potato Head is another great example. It's always been something near and dear to my little black heart. And of course, as I mentioned before, with the other two, the sculpting. Just look at this action figure, the torn shirt, the rotted flesh, the expression with the one big eye. These were some fantastic figures. In terms of sculpting and articulation, they were fantastic. But in terms of actual play value, that came down to the child who owned the toy. And then next, we have Dracula here. Now, similar to the Mummy, Dracula has a lever in his back, and he has similar points of articulation, both arms at the same time. Each of his legs can be moved one at a time, as I will try to demonstrate, which is hard to do one-handed. And one of the silliest things, if you look closely in his mouth and you push the lever, I don't know how well you can see that, let me get in as close as I can. Arms down, lever up. Aha, he sprouts fangs, yes. He goes from being normal average Joe, who's just like, and then he's like, now unfortunately, my particular vampire is missing the purple cape that would have come with him, that was made out of cloth. And detachable, obviously, otherwise he would still have it. But on the whole, I am still happy with this figure. And now lastly, ladies and gentlemen, the world premiere. The first time this toy has been out of his package ever. We're going to open up the Cryptkeeper. Now, before I even go attempting this, I'm going to go get a sharp implement and cut around the rest of the plastic, because the card art on this is too good for me to ruin by just ripping him off of there. So, pardon me again, ladies and gentlemen. I won't be more than a few minutes. See, that didn't take long at all, now did it? Sha! My samurai sword letter opener will be the one to pierce the plastic. So here we go. Starting from this side. Wow, this thing's sharper than I thought. There. Now we put the sharp implement back into its sheath and we put it away. And as you can now see, the card has been detached from the bubble. So now we can just easily, and as I say that, it gets stuck, we can now somewhat easily remove old Crypty from his packaging. Now before we get into that figure, let's just take a moment to appreciate the card art without the toy in the way. Just a general pleasant image of the Cryptkeeper looking all mischievous. And the other part of the reason why I'm not upset about opening this toy is the card is not in the greatest of shape. It's bent, it's warped, it's creased. It is in rough shape, and it's even been pierced by Crypty's boot, kicking through it. Right there. So, before I get into the toy itself, let's read the little blurb about the Cryptkeeper. Height, 5 foot 10 inches. Weight, 30 pounds. Special features, ghoulish smile, and a hairdo to kill. From deep in his underground lair, this puckish ghoul regales the audience with his sense of humor as he presents the tale of the week. He will shock you, and he will scare you. He will make you laugh and leave you with a little something to think about. And remember to always use safety scissors when cutting, when you collect and cut the bio cards. So now that I've procrastinated enough, brand new mint off card. Behold the Cryptkeeper. Interesting, fresh off the card, he is sticky, like some of these were when I first got them. So what does he do? Why, you push this lever on his back, and he does this. I wonder if his arm was supposed to be farther forward. There we go. Okay, I've made a slight adjustment, and now he seems to work better. Behold, he turns his head ever so slightly, and he waves his arm up and down. It's the Cryptkeeper with karate chop action! Uh-oh, please tell me I did not just break my brand new toy. Good, I did not. So Cryptkeeper with karate chop action goes up against Frankenstein. Yeah. And that didn't work. Yeah. He also boasts 3 other points of articulation. 1 at each hip, like so, and 1 at this arm. Oh, apparently he was supposed to move both of his arms with the button. Ah, it's kind of working now. I suppose after being stuck on that card for over 20 years, maybe almost 30, he just needed a few pushes of the button to get his feature going. So anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I figured we may as well actually take a look at the file card for the Mummy while we're here. Because I had actually forgotten I had this because I was using it to hold up the card back for Crypty. So, the Mummy's file card reads as follows. Height, 5'11". which is odd considering the Cryptkeeper is supposed to be 5'3", I believe. No, 5'10". And they are... actually, I think the Cryptkeeper is taller than the Mummy. Whoa. 160 pounds, whereas the Cryptkeeper weighs 30. Special features: glowing eyes and the scent of ancient tombs. So his eyes light up and he stinks. Woo! Fancy. The Mummy. Encased within his gold-plated sarcophagus, the Mummy slumbers deep beneath the smothering blankets of the Egyptian sands. When disturbed, he rises, dripping with withered wrappings, to seek vengeance on the greedy archaeologists. And of course, always use safety scissors when cutting out the file cards. Also, I just remembered another thing, ladies and gentlemen. There were actually 10 figures for this particular line. And you've actually gotten to see one of them right here on my show before this. And I keep forgetting I've got the camera down, so I need to bring my head down. But anyway, before we get to that next figure, let's just take a moment to appreciate the sculpting on old Crypty's face. That is exceptionally well done for a figure of this size. It's gruesomely gorgeous, I'll say. But, as I was saying, there's actually 10 figures in this line, because the Ace Company, let me just double check myself. Where is the thing that tells me where it's from? Yes, the Ace Toy Company, right there in the top corner, also made the Cryptkeeper talking figures, of which I happen to own exactly one. Now, pardon me for just a moment, folks, while I reset the camera, because this angle is starting to hurt my back. Uno momentations, por favors, and senoritas. So, as I was saying, they've made 2 of this particular figure. They had the Tuxedo Cryptkeeper, which is the one I'm currently holding, although mine is unfortunately missing his suit jacket. And they also had a Hawaiian Beach Cryptkeeper, which I shall throw a picture of on the screen now. Enjoy your view? Good. Now it has come to my attention, though I do not own both of these yet, that the Beach Cryptkeeper and the Tuxedo Cryptkeeper both came with the same amount of phrases, and literally the same phrases, just with a different outfit on each doll. I shall demonstrate the voices for you, although you've already heard one of them. If you've seen my first review for this series, go back and watch the Ketchup Vampires if you haven't. But he has a little button right around here in his midsection. There we go, I found it. That when you press, he says things like,
"Hello, boils and ghouls."
and that's literally it. He says, "Greetings, Fright Fangs. Hello, boils and ghouls." And lastly, now this bad boy boasts 5 points of articulation. His head, which is basically a bobblehead, a joint at each of his not elbows, at each of his shoulders, so he can go like this, and then of course a joint at each of his hips, so that you can make him do the cha-cha. Da 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 da. And now, another feature of these is they came with rooted hair, to make him look more realistic. Unfortunately with mine, when I found him on the internet, the person I bought him from, their daughter, had thought that it would be a brilliant idea to give old Crypty a makeover. So all of his hair was in braids, which is the reason why mine has such a, shall we say, vintage Barbie appeal to him. Because all of his hair is just like, he's got that total 80s hair going on, which I think actually adds to some of his charm. So, Crypty old boy, got any last words you'd like to say to our viewers before we turn off this episode? Well, that's it. Thank you for stopping by, and what's a ghost's favorite lunch meat? Give up? Bologna!